What's up, guys? It's PJ. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about our book recommendations for type 3 personality type from the Enneagram. So, before I get into the book recommendations, it would be good to talk about what type 3 is all about. Basically, the personality structure of type 3, what does that look like, and how could you know that you are a type 3 or not? So, basically, type 3 in Enneagram language is called the achiever type. And just from the name right there, some of you might resonate with that. It's basically the person that's extremely driven towards success, especially as success is defined in the Western society. So, you know, climbing the corporate ladder or achieving what success looks like in um, the Western world specifically. But what I'm really trying to point at is this is an individual who looks at what is success looking like in the society that they're in. So let's say somebody grows up in a very religious society or a family setting. Well, in that setting, what success is different than what success would be in, let's say, a different family, you know. And that individual who's a type 3 associates their sense of worthiness to becoming successful. So somebody who is a type 3 might have not really received affirmations from their parents, let's say, unless they succeeded, unless they got a grade A on a test, not a B. You know, it might have been a person that's like, unless they get an A, they would not get a good job by from their parents or from their family. So basically, this person at an early age decided that their worthiness is equal to them succeeding to the top of the class in whatever area or field they're in. And from there forward, as they age and as they move forward in life, because that was a childhood message that they received, that I am only good when I succeed, they kind of kept that pattern throughout life. So now let's say they're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and they still make their self-worth equal to their level of success. So their idea and image of who they are is so tied to their success that if that success goes away one day, they're going to feel like their sense of worthiness, their sense of personality is going to be going away along with it. And that's a very scary place to be. If, success in the world itself is a fleeting thing. Seasons change, everything changes. This world that we see, everything is constantly changing. And, as we all know, in 2020, we saw change after change after change. So if there's one thing that we are certain of, is that things change. And with that, success changes. So, success, it's like a seasonal roller coaster thing. So sometimes you might be on a high, right? And sometimes you might be in a valley. But if you equal your self-worth to always being at the top, then you're not going to be able to be flexible and adaptable with the changes of your success. And so the pitfall for the type 3 individual is that because their identity is so wrapped up with their achievements, if those achievements go away, they're gonna feel so lost. They're not gonna know who they are because they have defined themselves by those accomplishments. And so the type 3 individual might have a hard time really answering the questions, who am I? Who am I truly? Not I'm doctor this, I'm engineer this, I'm Mr. Successful Businessman, and therefore I am. No, it's who am I beyond those titles? Who am I beyond those labels that are fleeting, that are passing? The same way that my success comes and goes, those labels come and go. One season we are, let's say, a son, and in the next, but not a father, let's say, but in the next season we are a son and a father, and then it might turn to a grandfather. And so these titles change as we change and as we age. And so we need to find an identity basis that is deeper than these fleeting, changing labels and identities that we have. So basically, the book recommendations that I have today for type 3 is really to help them slow down, because slowing down is a very hard thing for type 3s. they are the doers. They're doing, accomplishing, going after goals. They're setting goals, and then they're trying to figure out what's the quickest way, the best way towards the accomplishment of these goals, and then they go towards that. They're really good at identifying the best, shortest path towards their goals, and then setting their mind to it and going after it and accomplishing it. It's the go-getter mentality that is very prevalent in the Western society. But basically, for an individual who operates from that level, from that place, it's very hard for them to slow down. But slowing down could be very, very crucial for an individual of type 3. And honestly, all of us could use some quiet time, some time to slow down. So the books that I have today for recommending to type 3s, these books are designed, or basically the reason I picked them is to help type 3s do certain things that are hard for them, right? So slowing down for a type 3 individual is very hard because if you associate your self-worth to success, and then you associate success with doing and accomplishing, then it's very hard for you to slow down. So one of the books that I'm going to recommend today is in order to get you to slow down and to help you with that process. Another book that I'm going to recommend for type 3s is to help them go a little bit more with the flow, to be able to really surrender, because they might have such tight grip on their schedule and how things are supposed to go, and everything that has to be done, to-do lists, all those things. They might have such a tight grip on that it's hard for them to slow down, as I said, but also then go with the flow. So it's like, I'm going to help you with these books, slow it down, calm down, and through slowing things down, you're going to be able to over time, tap into a deeper sense of your identity, a deeper sense of who you are beyond the fleeting nature of the world. So when you slow down, you tap into that I am, sense of I am, that is beyond, you can say, time and space. We want to help you get to that place, get to feeling, what some people might call the soul, the human soul, because that's really, you can say, that's our true identity. So the first book is going to help you slow down. The second book is going to help you go with the flow. And the third book, I think, is going to be helpful for type 3s because it's going to help you tap into creativity, the energy of creativity. Type 3s are so accustomed to doing with a purpose, right? I have to accomplish X, Y, and Z because these tasks are going to get me to destination, whatever, the destination that they have in mind. So it's like these tasks are always goal-oriented. They're not doing many things for the fun of it. Even when type 3s go on a vacation, they have a to-do list, an agenda of what they want to accomplish on that vacation. But sometimes it would be good for us to tap into that childlike creative energy, because that is a part of our being as well. So the first book that I want to recommend to type 3s is really a book that I would honestly recommend to anybody of any type, because this probably is one of the books that I've gifted more than almost any other book, and it is the highly famous and popular book, The Power of Now. And I would say the reason this book is so popular, and I mean, I'm sure it's sold more than like 5 million copies probably at this point, but because the reason it's so popular is because it's so powerful. It's a book that has proven to help people realize the power of the present moment, the power of being in this moment, in this now moment. For a lot of us, it's a new experience if to be in the present moment. Some of us may have never experienced that, may have never slowed down enough to really really feel this moment, the beauty of this moment. How beautiful it is that you can go outside and look at the sky and look at the clouds and look at the trees and feel the wind. Most of us are so busy doing. They call the United States a 3 society. It's a very going doing, hustle every day, all the time society. And type threes are the same way. Type threes, you can say, are the microcosm in a sense of the United States, and the United States being a three country is like a macrocosm. And so one of the main things that we all need to do is to slow down and get back in touch with the present moment, because the present moment is ultimately all there is. And the more we can, present moment, this now moment, not only is it all there is, it's all we've ever experienced. It's all we've ever known. But so many of us are, having these future mental projections of like what I'm gonna do in next hour, in 2 hours, in a day, a week, a month, a year from now, and or what happened in the past. We're thinking about, again, these are in the mind. Like the past, yes, the past did happen, but the replaying of the past in our minds is a mental projection. So it's not real. A lot of times we have the tendency to over glorify the past, or be overly worried about the future, or overly excited about the future. None of these things are ultimately real. What is real is this now moment. So the more we can live in this now moment, the more we can get in touch with what is real, including what is real within us. And so what I mean by that is, for type threes, as I said, they have a hard time identifying a true sense of who they are beyond their accomplishments, beyond what they're doing. What they need to work on is getting more in touch with who they are being. We are human beings, right? But type threes are very much human doing oriented. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, type threes have accomplished, some of the most accomplished people in history have been type threes. So we need that. They set the example of achievement and success for all of us to be like, learn from, get inspired by, and grow towards the example that they've set for us. So they're very, very, very helpful, and like amazing example setters for all of us. But again, we all need to practice being more, and type threes definitely need to do that, because ultimately, what's more important than any accomplishment, especially for people around you who experience you on a daily basis, is how present you were with them, is how did you show up from a moment to moment basis. And this book, I mean, the first time I read this book, I was, I was probably like 19 or 18, and I had honestly never really slowed down to like feel the present moment. So this was like almost like a foreign language to me. Like, what do you mean be in the present moment? And it, like the state that this man Eckhart Tolle would explain in this book, the state that he really dwells at, was like a foreign planet to me. But over time, through meditation, through just mindful practices, like in my case, for example, doing qigong and other modalities, I was able to really understand what it feels like to live in the present moment. Living in the present moment is the most natural thing for us, but we've become so unnatural in a lot of ways that we don't even know what that's like. So I highly recommend this book to get in touch with that present moment. Now, the second book, I actually don't have a physical copy of it because I've listened to the audiobook version of it. I love audiobooks. It's by Michael A. Singer, who is the author of another book, not the book I'm going to recommend. It's called The Untethered Soul, and that's very similar, I would say, to The Power of Now. That's an amazing book, but I'm not recommending that today. What I'm recommending is his other book called The Surrender Experiment. And as the name implies, basically he decided that he's going to experiment with what it's like to surrender to the universe, to surrender to God, to surrender to something greater than us to lead our lives. Because, so many of us have a tight grip on what we want things to look like and what are we going to do to accomplish those. It's almost like we don't trust a higher intelligence enough, really, to surrender to it, to believe, to have faith that things will work out if we not have such a tight grip on things. And for type threes specifically, they are so good at identifying what needs to be done to accomplish a certain goal, but we are identifying things that need to be done based on our own current understanding, right? So we're not really relying often on something greater than us, an intelligence greater than us, to guide us, to lead us to better things that we can do to accomplish certain things that we want, or allow it, like a river, allow it to take us maybe to a destination that's better than what we think we want. So how many times have you had the experience of thinking that you want something, not getting it, but getting something immensely better and saying, I'm so glad I didn't get what I thought I want, because this thing that I didn't even know existed, this thing that I didn't even know I want, is so much better than what I initially thought I desire and want. So that really is like a surrendering is not a giving up of action. Surrendering is really is it's faith lived out. It's faith embodied. A surrendered state of being is a state where you trust something greater than you to guide you, to lead you. So for type threes, this can be a very healing experience to do consciously, because the Enneagram also shows us this path of, let's say, integration and disintegration. So what that means is each type goes to a different, or starts showing similarities to a different type when it's feeling amazing, when it's not under stress, when things are going great, and then it shows similarities to another type when it's disintegrating, when it's super stressed out, things are going bad, it's like under a lot of pressure. And the type that type 3 goes to when it's disintegrating, uh, it's under a lot of pressure, it's type 9. Type 9 is called the peacemaker. It's a very relaxed. The animal that's associated with type 9 is a sloth. It's like very relaxed, take it easy, go with the flow attitude. I'm a type 9 myself, so it's basically that state of being that's surrendered. Like surrendering honestly is like a somewhat a natural experience for type 9s to a fault. But for type 3s, navigating, looking at the point that your type goes to when it's disintegrating, and then choosing to embody some characteristics of that type consciously so that you avoid like hitting rock bottom. Because when you're going to that type, that, let's say for type 3s, when they go to type 9s, they're going there because they might have overworked themselves and burnt themselves out, and now they have no choice but to relax, but to surrender. Maybe because they worked themselves so much, they got sick, and now they have no option but to rest and relax. So when we choose to do what that disintegration point, that disintegration type is wanting us to get to do, when we choose to do that consciously before we have no other option but to face that. So for type 3s, to relax, to surrender, to go with the flow consciously before life forces them to do that. That could be a very healing experience. So the Surrender Experiment is a book that highlights Michael A. Singer's, the author of that book, his journey of surrendering, of allowing something greater than himself to guide him. And you'll see an amazing story of how things unfolded and how they could be the same way for us and for our type 3 listeners today. So that's the second book I recommended. And I've been doing this thing where for type 1 I recommended one book, for type 2 I've recommended 2 books, and for type 3 I'm recommending 3 books. I'm not trying to do that, I'm not trying to keep that pattern up till type 9 so that I have 9 books to recommend for type 9s, but I just felt like these books would be helpful. So the third book that I want to recommend to our type 3 listeners, or honestly all of us, a lot of these books, that's a tricky part of breaking this series down to book recommendations for each type. although those books are helpful for each type, but like really a lot of these books are helpful for all of us, because really we have an aspect of all of these types within ourselves. We are whole beings, so we can alter sometimes from different character to a different character in different settings. But basically, um, this third book that I want to recommend, that is a great book for any type, is written by Elizabeth Gilbert, who is the author of Eat, Pray, Love. And this book is called Big Magic. It's a book on, well, the tagline is perfect, creative living beyond fear. It's a book on creativity and really creating our lives. And now, for type 3s, accomplishment is not a difficult thing, almost at all. And they actually make it look easy. It might be very difficult for them to accomplish something, but they want to make it look like it was a walk in the park. So the reason I chose to recommend this book, recommend Big Magic, is because although it's an amazing quality to have to figure out what you want, what your goal is, and then be able to figure out what's the best way to accomplish that goal and then go after it, to go get it done. It's an amazing quality, and I love being really surrounded, like having type 3 friends, because they're so good at getting stuff done, and it inspires me. Because for type 9 in its integration state, in its state of moving towards becoming more integrated, basically integrating an aspect that their personality might be lagging a little bit, for them is taking action. So for me, like seeing type 3s take action so naturally and seemingly easily, it's very inspiring for me. So I love being surrounded by type 3s. But basically, they are good at identifying what they want and then going after it. But sometimes the energy that's lagging a little bit is that energy of creative expression. Like, when was the last time you did something just because it was creative? It didn't have a goal. It didn't have an end goal in mind. Let's say you just decided to paint, or let's say you just decided to plant a garden. Which these are all creative things. Creative things are not always just like what we associate as art. Garden is planting a garden could be a creative experience. So many things can turn into a creative way of living. But basically, just doing something for the joy that it brings in its doing alone, not its outcome, just the doing itself. And Big Magic really, talks about like how beautiful our lives can become when we get in that creator spirit. We look at life and we're like, man, this is just like one fun canvas in a sense. Our lives is like a canvas, and every experience is like a brush stroke on this canvas, and like we can make our lives be a beautiful expression of our being. So when, let's say, you read The Power of Now, you learn to be still, you learn to be present, and then you read the Surrender Experiment or listen to it, and you learn how to surrender to something greater than yourself to guide you, to lead you. Then from there, after you've tapped into that essence of who you are, then allowing that essence to creatively express itself into the world, that everything you do, everything you touch is an expression of your truth, your authentic self. It could be a beautiful experience, and Big Magic really helps you tap into that, and it shows how beautiful her life is with creativity as a part of it. I remember, like, for me personally, I don't think I really had a creative outlet until I was 22 or 23 that I started making videos. And I swear I tapped into an energy that, to me, I don't remember the last time I had tapped into that energy. And that was the energy of creativity. That was the energy of play. When we are kids, play is so natural. I remember, like, I used to go in our yard and then get like a little shovel and make like a little road in the dirt and put my toy cars in there. And I was basically making something out of nothing. Really, it was like I had these raw elements and then I was combining them in a creative way just for the joy of it. I wasn't thinking like this is gonna be my accomplishment, this is gonna take me to the top because I'm doing, like, no, there was no thought like that. I was just playing and I was just enjoying being and playing for the joy of it. And I think that could be such a healing thing to do, to play, for type 3 is to play for the sake of itself, for the sake of its joy that it gives you, that brings you. And then you can go back to doing and accomplishing and getting things done. But life is like, it's both. You want to work and play. Just one is gonna, type 7s, for example, are called adventurers, and they might play too much, and not enough work. Now, obviously, none of these are like always the case, but this is just super, explaining things from like an archetypical standpoint. Like type 7, for example, is like that Peter Pan energy, like the kid that never grows up. But type 3 might be the kid that grew up too quickly and started like becoming super success and achievement oriented, like from a very early age. And so getting back with that inner child through play, through surrendering to something bigger than yourself, through becoming still in the present moment, can become immensely healing for our type 3 listeners. So I love you. I hope that you check these books out and that you find them helpful. So thank you for listening. Again, this is PJ, and I will be back next week with type 4. Thank you.